If someone's projecting something negative onto you, you know that they couldn't affect the light that's inside you. They can maybe try to damage the ego that you have, but then if you're okay with not being an ego, then there's no damage to be done.
This is Entrepreneurs the Playbook, where I give you access each week to the world's greatest athletes and executives about their personal and professional playbook and what has made them champions on and off the field. This is the Playbook. This is David Meltzer, CEO of Entrepreneur the Playbook, and I have one of the most interesting guests that I've had on this podcast. I am just intrigued. I've been sitting here pre-loading with Jordan Taylor Wright, and I have so many questions. I couldn't ask them because sometimes the energy would be off, and I know you're an energy guy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the first question.
Yeah.
You're a deep thinker. You're what I call an old soul, far beyond your years. You even said, age is just a number, which I subscribe to as well.
Yeah.
Where did this energetic background, this transformational background come from?
Yeah, it's fun. We were kind of speaking about this before we came on too, and it's first is kind of understanding a feeling of how to feel good, and for a lot of people, they don't know what that is, and they've kind of been programmed otherwise, and we've almost been taught within society that sadness and anger, these are all things that you need in order to feel happiness, but when in actuality, that's not the case. We all hold within us the ability to feel good, and at a young age, I was blessed to discover that, and when you are creating something, you are channeling, and that is a base of feeling good. So when I was younger, I luckily would watch movies, and it resonated deeply with me, the images and the storytelling and the level of imagination and wonderment. And from there, I wanted to share the stories that were within me, just as everyone wants to share the stories that are within them. So having faith and trust in the ability to share that, and I found it through photography and videography and editing and sports and stretching and whatever allows you just to really feel good within your physical being is step one of channeling the correct energy, or knowing that you are not your mind body, you're not operating from your mind and your ego. And then from there, getting in tune with spirituality or your thought process. I studied psychology, so I was really intrigued into why we think what we think and why society tells us to think what we think. And it stems from mirror reflections of our experiences. If your parents, you come from a divorced home or from a situation that may be perceived as tumultuous, negative to you, you think it has to do with you, and you take that on, but in actuality it has nothing to do with you. It's a mere reflection of a situation. You could either perceive it as that and see the beauty in it because it leads you to where you are, or you can see it as a negative and hold that weight for a very long time. And then you can remove yourself from your thoughts by simply acknowledging your thoughts. So if you're feeling something that makes you anxious, you are thinking about the future. And if you're thinking about something that's making you depressed, you're thinking about the past. And then acknowledging that you are thinking either of those things within those moments, noticing them and allowing them to pass, like you're sitting at the riverbank and watching them pass in front of you in the stream of a river. And then you get to stay in that place of just openness and nothingness and stillness for as long as you want to by simply feeling. So I think it just starts with allowing yourself to feel good and holding that space to feel good.
Good. Now I let Jordan go on for a minute, and I normally don't do that.
Yeah.
And the reason I did is it's very rare to capture on camera somebody channeling. So if you're watching this, notice that unlike most of the interviews where someone's highly engaged right here, his eyes are moving because all he's doing is channeling or allowing information to come through you, right, for everybody's benefit. And which is different for a podcast. I was really looking forward to showing people, because they'll ask me, well, how do you channel? I'm empathetic, right? I can channel, and I know my best speeches and my best interviews. I don't remember one thing because I'm purely present and just downloading and accessing the information that I need. So I think it was really most interesting of anything was the ability to do what you just did in that stream of consciousness to explain happiness, which is crucial. one thing beyond, this energetic background that you've channeled is something that other people call genius. And I've been with some of my mentors this weekend. I had a blessed weekend. I had my son's 8th birthday, but also Cynthia Kersey, who wrote Unstoppable, is a mentor of mine, and she started the foundation I'm the chairman of, called Unstoppable. It was her 60th birthday, and so I was shuttling back and forth. But I got this real wisdom from people like Blaine Bartlett and Barnett Bain and Ronaldo Butal, all these different amazing people who have written far more books than we have years alive. But they said that when you're born, that you're actually a genius, and the amount of information that you can access is extraordinary. And then usually by the time we're 5, we've sucked about 95% of that ability away. And because of the way we condition, because of judgments and conditions, right?
Yeah, well, a lot of it has to do with operating from your mind body. So what happens is when you're reborn again, when you are born into this life and you are that of pure energy, and your mind is a sponge and hasn't absorbed all of the social constructs that we currently have today. So then you are a free space. Your mind is your computer and your ego is your operating system. So you can override your operating system by simply acknowledging that you are not that, and by removing any programs that might be there. Program is your notion of gender, your age, your anything that makes
laws,
a label of who you are. Yeah, ethnicity, race, and removing all of that, and by looking at another person and seeing the light within them as opposed to the individual projection that they may have, and the notion of self, then you get to realize that each person that you're speaking to is a mere reflection of the light within all of us. And then, so it's learning how to remove yourself from your mind body, and you can remove yourself from your mind body by just holding that space of happiness.
And you had a great explanation utilizing an analogy to a computer.
Yeah.
How does, for me, I know my answer, but I'm really curious.
Yeah.
How does your DNA, which God's code or your genetic code, how does that input process, right, through ego and through access, how does your DNA, how is that relevant to all of this philosophy that you have?
We're the harmony as a human between our mind, body, and spirit. And the body, so if the analogy of your brain being a computer and your ego being an operating system, your body is that of a hard drive, but that doesn't do it justice. But we store all of universe's information within our physical body. That's why yoga is so important. And also, we stemmed from tadpoles and monkeys and evolution, and we are stardust. Literally, we're made of all the same stuff that's comprised in the entire universe. So we may have a projection of what we think we look like based on mirrors and based on photos and based on
projection.
Yeah, what we think we look like, but when we look at animals, we are that as well. We can channel the strength of a lion and the knowledge of an elephant, and we have all of that within us. So using our bodies and loving our bodies is really important. So stretching, dancing, yoga, nutrition, plant-based, what you eat, we're a plant. So sunlight, water's represented.
And positive energy, right? Which can stem not just from sunlight, but from other people.
Yeah, but knowing that still has nothing to do with you. So if someone's projecting something negative onto you, you know that they couldn't affect the light that's inside you. They can maybe try to damage the ego that you have, but then if you're okay with not being an ego, then there's no damage to be done. So you get to, just feel that of light all the time. But the body's a beautiful thing, and being able to be in tune with it and in touch with it is amazing, because that's just a whole nother realm of what you could access by allowing yourself to feel, and then you can feel and store and remove all the negative energy that's in your body.
Let me shift gears for a second, because you and I are what I call woo-woo, right? I can talk all day about light, energy, and quantum healing. I have a quantum zero effect that I'd love to explain off camera and see and get your input for. But I want to do something interesting, because most people, they at some degree can understand what we're talking about.
At a feeling level, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. But sometimes that some of these truths vibrate too fast for others to be aware of. And where I find you most interesting is an area that I think has made my life really interesting, that we both sit in a very pragmatic role. We both sit in a lower vibrating profession, you in the entertainment world as a producer, director, and a filmmaker, and me in the sports world and all the different things that I've done. I want to know how someone like you produces at a pragmatic level, right, and associates, because a lot of people like you will sit at home high on their mom's couch, meditating, doing yoga, being a vegan, but never proactively making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, or even having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How do you re-engage at a lower vibration to help others? So can you explain, how did you become so successful in this pragmatic world and pragmatic space?
Yeah, well, like, thank you for saying I'm successful, but I guess it also, like, depends on how people define success.
Sure.
My goal or intention for what I'm doing is to share all of the beautiful wisdom and knowledge, or just that the perception of what I'm able to see, so that way other people can use me as a beacon or a mirror if they want to be able to feel happiness or enlightenment or awaken or woke or whatever you want to call it in today's day and age. But that's why I feel like storytelling is so powerful. You don't forget a movie that touches you, and even if you don't understand it at a conscious level, it resonates at a subconscious level. So if you're watching a Disney film or you're watching Pixar and Finding Nemo, it says fish are friends, not food. Even if you don't necessarily understand that, that means don't kill animals or don't eat fish or we are all one. It can resonate at a very powerful level. So I think imagery is really powerful, and that's why I like sharing the movies and the stories that we're sharing, is because the combination between visual and audio is what we are as humans. We hear and we see, we touch and we feel as well, but that is all a part of it, and that can become sensory. So when you watch and you hear something, you feel it within your body and you feel it within your soul. So that's why I'm excited to share what we're sharing, because you get to disseminate those messages to people in a beautiful way with the correct intention of love and liberate yourself. So.
And I mean, dude, you're like so beyond beautiful and peaceful. I love being with you.
Thank you.
I want to ask you an interesting question. How do you deal with money?
I think about
charge
it
money
the
for what you
least
do?
amount of possible.
Really?
I have a beautiful team surrounding me,
Yeah.
many of which I trust, and they know that money is a tool in which to do the things that we do. But to me, it's like playing Mario. You're playing and you're running around and you're loving life, and then you find gold coins. And the reason why you're finding all of these beautiful gold coins is because your intention is correct, and what you put out is what you get back. And ultimately, you can make a lot of money not living from your heart space, but then you're also then a black hole of egoism. And as, for example, the president, he is very egotistical and self-driven. He is successful in terms of financial value, but a lot of people can look at that as success.
Yeah.
So if you don't strive for money, if you strive for happiness, but wanting money to self-fuel what you're doing to help liberate other people as well, then the universe will reward you with that, because that is what you put out is what you get back. It's literally the law of attraction, karma, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, what you are willing to open yourself up to, if you remove the ego, remove everything, and say, I am a conduit for being happiness and love, and I want to just share that with everybody. A door may close as a perception of a door being closed, but all of a sudden it leads you to something else, and then yeah, you get placed into the situations that you want to be placed in. So.
Right. I mean, I live in the universe's favor. Every setback is really a setup for me, and I know you share that same experience. It's interesting because when I went through my transformation, my quantum moment, and I started realizing, because I was driven by money early in my career, and I used to create a void for me to fill, and now what I do is wake up every morning and just pray for 10 people that I can help to be of service, create a void for the universe to fill by being of value. Right, and as you say, the gold coins keep coming and coming.
Yeah, and then even if you feel like you're not affecting a lot of people at one moment in time, by you being the best version of yourself, if you're fully happy and you're fully wanting the intention to be happy so you can share that happiness with other people, even every interaction you're with will be really positive to the people that you're around. So even if you don't think you're affecting 1 million people right at that second, every person you shake their hand, you look into their eyes, you smile, when you're at the store getting something, or when a stranger on the street, all of a sudden that's a mirror that they look into that they may have never perceived before. And all of a sudden they're like, whoa, this feels really good. And that can awaken a lot of things in a lot of people, and then it becomes a domino effect. And if you can just be the best mirror reflection of love and happiness for other people, then that has a trickle effect, and all of a sudden everybody then gets to one by one be that, and then we're hopefully all living in harmony together.
Right, and you share that through not only your individual lens, but the lens of video.
Yeah.
And you're able to create a frequency that's of a high vibration, which is why I believe you're able to attract so many people because it does make them feel good.
Yeah.
And there's no explanation for that for me other than vibration, right? I have a saying, right, the truth vibrates the fastest. And so if we're consistently every day, persistently without quit, enjoying with happiness the pursuit of our potential or truth, when you're behind the camera or directing or producing, how do you try to motivate or convey that to your subjects, which are world famous artists?
Yeah, it's first just all being on the same page in terms of what the intention and the story is. So if we're on set and we're creating a music video or a movie, it's just, does the story resonate with everyone? And if it doesn't, then sharing your perspective of what it is so that way they can allow themselves to see it too. So if the story, for example, the film's called The Discovery of the Divine Consciousness, and it's how you can remove your negativity and the programs that have to do with yourself to be that of just nothingness and being okay with living in that space, basically getting over the notion of death. That's, I think, the most deep-rooted fear for a lot of people, and that stems from the ego. The ego evolved out of survival because humans are the most dominant species on the planet Earth at the moment, and we are now just surviving as opposed to living. We just want comfort and we want to just consume as opposed to allowing ourselves to remove the ego and be like, look at this blessed life that we have, that we get that there's these resources here for us, that we all get to coexist together. So by understanding and allowing yourself to remove the ego, then you get to be in a space of nothingness and everyone gets to feel that. And then that's what the movie shows, is how, when you're a child and your parents are fighting, you may think it has to do with you, or you get the news that your grandpa's dying, has Alzheimer's, and doesn't remember who you are. What does that mean? Or drowning, like, why is that terrifying? Why am I scared of being underwater? And then learning that all of that are just programs within your own being that you get to overcome, to realize that death and birth are one and the same, that you are nothing and everything at the same time, and that's where creativity comes from. You channel. A singer doesn't think about singing, a dancer doesn't think about dancing.
Now, do you believe in past lives?
Yeah.
Of course.
For sure, yeah. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be on Earth. You could have been on Earth several times and your light continues to pass through you, or you could, remember or ascend to being something in space, or a star, or we are the whole universe, and there's a lot out there. So
you believe in, like I do, in oneness. One of the more difficult things to explain to people is the oneness of time. Can you give it a shot?
Yeah, of what time is?
Yeah.
We are time. So I guess we pray to light. So when everyone's praying to God, they're praying to light, which is we still haven't figured out how to move at the speed of light because we are light. But the ego and the mind can't comprehend that. So it's about living in the now, and when you are there, time ceases to exist. And I even used the analogy earlier. There's the movie Her that came out with Joaquin Phoenix, and the last line that Scarlett Johansson's AI character says is, because she's like, we're all disappearing now, which is like they're all ascending basically into a space that the human mind couldn't comprehend. And the way she explained it was, it's like you're reading a book that you really love, and it's just now that the letters and the words are starting to become very far apart. It's almost like time is ceasing to exist because you just feel so good while it's happening that you live in that nothingness, the space between where you think everything is. And we get to be that all and perceive. Another analogy is like being in a movie theater and you're watching a movie. If you think that what you're watching is on the screen, you're gonna just be focused on the screen, but realizing that the projector is projecting it on the screen, and that's the source of where it's coming from, such as us. We are actively projecting this right now, and we get to witness the projection as it's happening if we don't concentrate on what's on the screen, if we realize that it's passing through us. And then just in terms of what time is, it's the past, it's a story we tell ourselves, it's a moment we decide to live in, and the future is a projection of what we wish to happen.
That was probably the most difficult question I've ever asked you on a podcast. So.
What is time?
But you, like, literally, but it's so cool that I could ask you, and you're an old soul, I vibe with you in so many different ways, and
I can tell it resonates. Like when we're speaking, like we're there together, and it feels really nice.
Yeah, it's almost weird with all these cameras because I just want to allow people, because I have to be a transcoder, right? I have to be able to take what you say and give it some pragmatic value, because not everybody, I don't want them to resist your beauty and your peacefulness.
But even if it doesn't resonate at that moment, it just means that it's something that is within themselves that they're not willing to perceive at that moment. But then they get to come to it if
it's a seed.
Yeah, if they want to. Yeah, they get to look at something, and if it doesn't feel good, it's okay. Maybe in the future, it will feel good. But as long as you allow yourself to just like be open to looking at it, then.
Oh, I'm totally stoked to be here. Last question.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in, because I give this one to almost everybody, but I know you have past lives, future lives, times one. We're one.
Yeah.
You and I have known each other for many lives. I know that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, this lifetime on Earth, what legacy would you like to leave?
Just unity and openness and a way of lightheartedness. I feel like this world has been like carved out by serious men and with like structure, and it forged the steel and the fire of all this beauty, but like the openness of like femininity and receptiveness for everybody, because the way to truly be a conduit and to channel is to be feminine energies, be open and allow that to flow through you. Nature is Mother Nature, and this world to be the best version of itself with the beauty of the plants and the ocean and the greenery and all the life, and for us not to take that for granted, because it's a beautiful planet and home that we've been given and we've come from it. So to show not only the beauty of technology and how, I understand that's what allows me to make these videos, but then in these videos showing the beauty of this earth that we live in, because climate change is a real thing that we are all contributing to, because we are more concerned with making our lives more comfortable, but everything we could want is here. Let's just take a moment to like breathe outside and like appreciate the trees and the birds and the water, swim in the ocean, and not take that for granted. And hopefully I can be a mirror reflection for that, for other people to be like, I love this place and I want to, it's an internal feeling, and hopefully I can leave that behind there.
Well, Jordan, you're awesome. You're the embodiment of the 4 things that I teach. 1 is gratitude, 2 is empathy, 3 accountability, and 4 inspired communication. And to be in such a young embodiment, to share such wisdom, I hope millions of people get to see this.
I appreciate that.
I'll watch it again and again, and hopefully we'll have much longer conversations.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Outside of
this
podcast. But
pleasure.
This is Dave Meltzer with Jordan Taylor Wright on Entrepreneur.
Thank you so much.